If you want to know how to stop those negative thoughts that keep holding you back and start speaking to yourself with kindness, this video will show you exactly how to change the internal dialogue that's quietly yet profoundly shaping your life. Welcome to my channel. My name is Nina Elise, and I'm a certified mindset and manifestation coach. I specialize in neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, somatic breathwork, and subconscious rewiring. I help women break free from limiting beliefs, heal their inner dialogue, and reprogram their minds for self-love and success. If you are ready to transform your relationship with yourself, let's dive in. Negative self-talk is the internal dialogue we all have that tells us we're not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. But here's the thing. Those thoughts aren't actually yours. These are learned behaviors and belief systems picked up from childhood experiences, cultural conditioning, and the words spoken to us by other people. We just internalized those messages and made them a part of our identity, even though they don't serve us. Examples of negative self-talk are, I suck at this, I'll never be confident enough, who would ever want to buy my product or art? I'm not good enough to go after my dreams. And typically, these thoughts are coupled with very strong emotions. And if this sounds familiar, don't worry. You are not alone. The good news is you don't have to keep listening to that voice. For so many years, I was so hard on myself. I constantly felt like I was doing everything wrong, making the wrong decisions, and basically just not living up to my own impossible standards. I remember I met with my business coach one day, and she said to me, Nina, the way that you speak to yourself is abusive. And that was such a huge wake-up call for me because I realized that I was giving kindness and grace to everyone else, but I couldn't even extend it to myself. My inner dialogue was so cruel and it was keeping me stuck. With intentional pauses and somatic work and observing my thoughts, I started to shift that narrative of those abusive thoughts to ones that were more supportive and loving. Now, when a negative thought pops up, I typically just say, I don't speak to myself like that. And I push it off to the side. Then I replace it with something like, you're learning, you're trying, and that's enough. So ultimately, it has become about not being perfect. It's about practice, and it requires so much grace. I'm going to break down exactly how to shift your negative internal dialogue with simple, actionable steps that you can implement immediately. The first step is pretty simple. Just start by simply noticing your thoughts. Carry a notebook or use your phone to jot down every negative thought that comes up. This awareness is the first step to change, because if you don't know where you are at, you won't know where you're going. Step 2 is to question the thoughts. Ask yourself, where did this thought come from? Is it even true? And often you will realize that these thoughts were learned from someone else and don't even reflect your reality. These are literally coming from people who dealt with their own insecurities and their own limiting belief systems. And they just projected them onto you, and then you took them on as your own belief system. And you don't have to do that anymore. You can start to create your own beliefs and take your power back. And when I first started doing this work, something that I would do is I would often pause and reflect. And typically, I would have like an image or a scene pop into my head from where that original thought or belief came from. And in those moments, I was able to basically reparent my inner child who experienced that projection. And I was able to teach her a healthier way to speak to herself. And so that became a much more loving and intentional and mindful way of learning how to speak more kindly to myself. The next step is to replace the thought. So like I just mentioned, whenever I would have that thought come in, I would say something kind to myself. So anything that is kind or empowering. And an example would be, say a thought like, I'll never be confident comes into your mind. And you're watching somebody who you think is super confident and you're like, oh, that'll never be me. What you can do is you can replace that thought with, Confidence is a skill that I am building every single day. Or maybe you have thoughts that say, like, I'm a failure, or I'm never going to get this right. And you can replace that with, I am learning and growing from every experience, and I give myself grace. A really powerful mantra that I created for myself that has held true for me over the years is, I am who I am. I am where I am, and it's more than okay. So I typically would repeat this to myself in situations where I felt nervous around people or was first learning something new. I really encourage you to adopt some sort of mantra that works for you, that allows yourself to be kinder and have a different inner dialogue when you are in situations that make you feel uncomfortable or they're new for you. The next step is to create a new internal rule. So, like I mentioned earlier in the video, you can adopt a rule like, I don't speak to myself like that. Every single time a negative thought arises, you want to stop it in its track and redirect it to kindness or a different way of speaking to yourself. Simply is really about learning how to set healthy boundaries with yourself internally. And you are the only one that is going to know how to do this, because you're the only one that is in your mind 24/7. So, this is a practice of very deep self love, of learning how to set healthy boundaries with yourself and filtering out the things that are no longer acceptable in your world and how you wish to treat yourself and how you wish to speak to yourself. The next step is to use somatic practices to anchor in new beliefs. So, a lot of times, negative self talk lives in the body as tension or anxiety. This might feel like chronic tension in your hips or your shoulders, or even that small headache behind your eyes. A simple somatic exercise you can try is somatic breathing. It's one of my all-time favorite things to do, especially when I'm feeling a lot of tension or contraction in my body. So all you can do is start off by sitting comfortably, closing your eyes, and taking long, slow, deep breaths. So as you inhale through your nose, you can imagine filling your body with kindness. And as you exhale slowly through your mouth, release any tension or negative energy in your mind and body. If you do this for at least a few minutes, it will help calm your nervous system and anchor in a more positive state. If you prefer to have a guided breathwork experience, I will link a free 10-minute video in the description for you to try. These practices are life-changing, and I don't say that lightly. However, it is just the beginning. If you want to dive deeper into healing your inner dialogue, you can download my free Inner Child Guide. It's filled with tools and prompts I used on my own journey to self-love and kindness. Most of our negative thoughts stem from what we learned as children, and this guide will help you completely unlearn those patterns and rewrite your story based on the one that you want to tell. You can find the link in the description to download. I'm going to leave you with this. The way you speak to yourself matters more than anything else. If your internal dialogue is filled with negativity, it's what you will continue to experience in your external reality, because it's the only lens from which you can view the world through. If you want to change your life, it starts with how you speak to yourself. My closing question for you is, what negative thoughts come up for you? Share them in the comments below and we'll get a conversation going. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. If you want to learn more about reprogramming your mind or shifting your mindset, check out my last two videos. I've linked them in the description, or you can click right here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.